Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's J-Man. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
You ever just go on Facebook and somebody shares an article and then you post a comment and then everything goes to shit, blows up in your face?
You're supposed to read the article apparently before you start commenting because headlines are misleading at times.
Well, no, but sometimes it'll have a description of the story underneath it, so you don't have
very brief, also misleading.
The point is, sometimes you also may make an innocuous comment or ask a question of someone, and it does not go well.
Yep.
So I got into a shit-slinging match on Facebook a few weeks ago, and it really fucked with my head. Can't sleep, dejected, ready to curb stomp someone bothered. Why? I got trapped in an outrage net.
Oh, no.
A what?
An outrage net.
The fuck is that?
The snare of somebody who can't wait to fucking call you a racist or a sexist or a this or a that, or imply that you're xenophobic or intolerant or a piece of shit.
So a liberal?
Probably. I don't know. I didn't ask.
They're the only ones that do that.
You are 100% wrong.
Okay. So this particular person was a friend of mine in high school. Haven't really hung out with him for 18 years.
There's a reason.
But I still am friends with him on Facebook because he used to be
polite.
a really solid dude. He was a little punk rock kid. He was fucking cool as shit. Honestly, I was a senior. He was a freshman. This kid was like a brother to me. I spent more time with him and another friend that was a junior when I was a senior at my grad party than with my fucking family that drove down from Duluth. And I'll never forget, we broke part of my Smurfs swing set that was still hanging around my parents' backyard that day. You know those old swing set things where it would have a bench seat and a bench seat facing each other, and then they'd kind of rock from a pivot point above them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we started going, and I was pushing him on it, and then I grabbed it and stopped it, and he went falling backwards and smashed through it, broke the fucking backer to it, and landed on the grass, and he was laughing his ass off. That was the kind of relationship we had. Another time, we were at that same friend that was a junior, his house in summer, and we went out on his parents' pontoon because he lived on a lake in Maple Grove. And I was practicing Goldberg Spears. You know, Goldberg, the wrestler, would spear people as his finisher.
Nope.
Okay, you run at somebody and you tackle them around the waist, you spear them. I speared him off the boat into the lake. Yeah, those are the kind of friends you have where you just fuck around and everything's cool. I love this kid. He was so great that those memories of that 1 year, we even tried to sneak him into the senior class photo. It didn't work, but almost. That's how close I was with this kid.
Okay.
So he posts something that he's working on doing a remodel on a house in Columbia Heights.
Why?
Because that's what he does.
I mean, it's not like it's a bad career, but why Columbia Heights?
Thank you. I asked, do you ever feel unsafe in that city? It's got some pretty hairy areas.
I feel unsafe when I'm down there.
Okay, his reply, and I might add that he's lived in Minneapolis most of his life.
So Columbia Heights to him is actually really nice.
He's kind of a snoot about it. He's like, it's no different than any other town.
Contraire.
And I said, it's a far cry from Blaine, Ramsey, or Andover. And I'm like, there's way less Latin gang tagging in Coon Rapids these days. And then the next reply to my comment was some random fat bitch that knows him that looked like a lesbian. She just, I don't know. I got that vibe from her. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her being a lesbian, but she looked like a lesbian. She goes, Latin gang tags? What the hell? And I, very snarkishly replied, spray paint, graffiti, illegal vandalism written in both Spanish and English consisting of gang insignias?
Gotcha, bitch!
She didn't reply.
Could you shut her ass up?
And then this other guy goes, are you serious? Latin gang tags. Ooh, so scary. North Minneapolis isn't even dangerous these days.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That's what I thought.
I know a guy who knows a cop that works there, and he's like, holy shit, it's a goddamn fucking other planet down there.
Dude, the 4th Precinct, a friend of mine's wife is a cop from Minneapolis, and they don't even stop the car most of the time when their service calls for piddly shit. They just roll by slow, look at some people, and then drive away. And if it doesn't look like there's an immediate crowd response needing to disperse them, they won't even fucking stop. And some guy makes some fucking snarky comment.
It's not even that dangerous. Yeah, maybe if you're the right ethnicity.
Okay, so he puts headline, something something from socially isolated hellhole shouts from across the highway. I don't know, it just struck me as something very insulting but stupid.
Okay, I'm confused. Is he referring to Minneapolis being a isolated hellhole?
No, he's making it sound like I'm a xenophobic dumb shit from the suburbs who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, bitch.
And then I see that not only has my friend from high school liked the comment, he loved the comment. And that hurt me a little. It bruised my ego.
Yeah, I wonder how you responded to this.
And my rebuttal was 11-year correctional officer with first-hand knowledge of junkies and crime of said area chided for asking a question. Bravo! I thought it was a pretty good response.
That is a good response.
And he comes back with 11-year correctional officer with slanted view talks like city isn't worth saving. Minneapolis has 14 violent crimes per 1,000 residents and isn't even in the top 50 cities for crime. Just because you have experience doesn't make up for your incorrect view. And I'm like, wow, this guy just went off the deep end.
This guy is a liberal. He probably wears skinny jeans and has a big-ass beard.
No. I mean, he's got a beard. It's not big. I mean, I don't think he wears skinny jeans because he's a fat fuck. But
there you go.
He just strikes me as one of these yuppie trend douchebags who thinks that anybody that doesn't know what he knows is an idiot and all other viewpoints. Like, he clearly has a problem with the fact that I said correctional officer and acted like I knew what I was talking about. I think that's what his response was. So I simply came back with probably my fault for citing the graffiti instead of the interactions I had with dozens and dozens of junky shitbags over the years who told me about all the dirt they did in that particular city. I buried the lead. All I did was ask a question, and then the pile-on began. However, I fail to see how being influenced by my work experience means my view is incorrect. But what do I know? I'm not throwing around xenophobia accusations hoping to get a chance to wave the virtue flag like a habitual recidivist with a battery of speeding, expired tabs, and no proof of insurance citations. Oh! I looked the guy up. He's got a long rap sheet of speeding tickets, no proof of insurance, and expired tab citations.
And you threw it at him on Facebook. Bravo.
And then the other guy that said, ooh, so scary. I followed that up with, or somebody else with an elementary level snark and a hat trick of DUIs. I looked them both up. Uncommon names. Almost sure of it that these were those guys. So I threw that shit in their face to be a dickhole. I'm like, but that's how the word works these days, isn't it? Rather than ask somebody what they mean, you claim outrage or point fingers first. It's okay. I'll just crawl back under my rock while you saints all celebrate your perfection. Have a nice life. And then I unfriended that gentleman. And then I was going to try to copy and paste the conversation, but once I unfriended him, I couldn't see it anymore. So whatever shit they were talking about me after, I just like, fuck you. And honestly, I never should have even engaged the post in the first place because I've gotten burned by this guy before. I've made jokes that you or I or 98% of the people we know would laugh at. And he's like, oh, that's in poor taste. I'm like, God damn it, really? That's fucking funny. Fuck you.
I'll laugh. I'm saying, that's so bad. You surely shouldn't be saying that.
But dude, it's like he went from being this like down-to-earth, cool, almost altruistic punk rocker, and now he became a folk-singing woke uber-lib. And maybe I should have just asked, oh, what part of town are you in? Or mentioned all the stories I heard from inmates or the bragging they did about where their drug hot spots and favorite places to pawn shit, Fridley, or go garage shopping where.
Garage shopping?
Yeah, that's what they call it. They walk down the street when they're high looking for money for another fix. And if there's unattended garages with the door open, they'll go inside and grab something quick so they can pawn it. Or sell it to another fiend or trade it to a dealer.
Yeah.
So the whole thing taught me that, I should just not fucking talk to... This is why social media is so toxic. You try to have a conversation, and people don't even ask, why do you think it's unsafe? Right? That would have been the understanding thing. Be like, no, I feel safe in that city. Why don't you? Like, I'm trying to fucking relate. I'm not just mocking that city. And, this is just a small sample of what outrage culture on social media is like these days. You get these people who are so militantly sided in their mindset, they jizz their pants at the opportunity to find anything wrong with anything else that anyone says to start an argument. And they start throwing around accusations or casting aspersions of the character of whose words they're mincing. And I'd also like to point out to that gentleman with all the speeding tickets and shit, he starts talking about Minneapolis, and he dropped a line like, don't act like Minneapolis is a terrible place and it isn't worth saving.
What?
What do you mean, isn't worth saving? I'm like, I'd like to point out that we were originally talking about Columbia Heights, not fucking Minneapolis. One is the seat of a county, which is the largest county, if I'm not mistaken, in the state, Hennepin. The other city, Columbia Heights, is the anus of an adjoining county. Just because Columbia Heights borders Minneapolis does not make it Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis adjacent. That's why they have dividing lines on a map, you stupid cunt.
There's a whole fucking river dividing them.
With your goddamn idiotic Andy Cap hat on, you fucking douche. Yeah, so save your, oh, it's a city worth saving. Save that shit for your next re-election bid, Harvey Dent.
That was a Batman reference.
And you think I would have learned my lesson from that exchange. Somehow, I got myself into another sticky wicket just 2 days ago.
Here we go again.
So this is a person I used to work with at the jail. It's a relatively foul-mouthed and understanding person. She's a single mom. She's a hard worker. She's a great human being. There was a story about a woman who went to Disneyland. All right? So I'm going to read you the caption under the picture. The picture was her sitting in a wheelchair and then her standing up next to the wheelchair. Before I read this, I just want to ask you something. If you saw somebody get out of a wheelchair and start walking, would that strike you as odd, or you just be like, no, whatever?
Depends on what kind of a wheelchair.
Just
Like
a
if it's
regular
one of those
wheelchair.
just a regular wheelchair, no, it wouldn't strike me as odd.
Okay. Well,
If they got up and started like breakdancing and shit, I'd find that odd. But if they got up and just started walking, even if they were walking somewhat normal, I don't think I'd raise an eyebrow to it.
so here's the caption. Yesterday I was at Disney and I was using my wheelchair, which I need to go long distances, like a theme park. Anyway, I stood up to take a photo and somebody said, jokingly, oh, the wheelchair's a hoax? Then quickly followed that they were kidding. However, the words stung me. No, I don't need my wheelchair every day, but my wheelchair helps me get places that I otherwise probably couldn't go. But just because I don't need it every day doesn't mean it's not real and it's not needed. It's not a hoax. And even jokingly, it's not okay to say that to someone. Not all disabilities or chronic illnesses look the same, and it's time to break the stigma that those with chronic illnesses are faking it, which unfortunately is heard by so many far too often. Long story short, you never know someone else's story, so please be kind in your words.
Jesus fucking Christ. She has one time that we know of where somebody's just making a joke and she's got to fucking go on this diatribe on the internet?
That's what
Is
Facebook
that going to be
has
her
fucking
15
become.
fucking minutes of fame?
Yeah. Similarly, there was a story of someone that my wife knows, one of her friends. I unfriended this bitch immediately. She had, for her husband's birthday, a cake made. A 3-tiered cake by a cake shop.
Wow, that's fancy.
And every tier was themed like a different team from Chicago, because that's where he's from.
Okay, so like the Bulls, the Bears.
No, Blackhawks, Bears, Cubs.
Oh, I forgot about the Cubs.
So,
Who are the fucking Blackhawks?
hockey, the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, okay, I never heard of them.
Jesus Christ, they were only featured heavily in fucking Stan Mikita's donut shop in Wayne's World.
Oh, okay.
Because that movie and show took place in Aurora, Illinois. Anyways.
Who is Aurora anyway?
Yeah. So, a Disney princess. Fuck that bitch. So, the cake shop took a picture of the cake. Said, made this for a customer. All the worst teams. And then they drew like a two... yes, that's fucking funny, I know. Right?
I'd expect the same shit if I had a cake made with Vikings, Twins, and fucking...
And then you had a cake shop in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's funny.
So they Instagrammed that, and it got a bunch of reactions, and she saw it. And she fucking shared that and flipped the fuck out about how out of line they were and how insulting it is and why did they have to say that and why couldn't they just keep their mouth shut? Because people fucking say shit, and sometimes you just need to turn a deaf ear to it. And the best part is she's like, I can't believe they did this. Tell me what you think. And I don't want to hear from you if you're just going to talk shit. Translation, I don't want to hear any opinions that are the opposite of my own.
That is correct.
I've been like, well, I'm sorry, but to me that's funny no matter which team you like because it's just somebody ripping on a team they don't like.
I wanted to say, don't you think you're being a tad oversensitive? Because they made the cake. They have a right to take a picture of the cake. If they want to fucking joke about it, you bought the cake, right? So just don't do business with them again. No, she's making this fucking plea for people to not do business with them. And then she fucking called and complained, so they took the Instagram post down. Just like, let it go.
Jesus, no one can take a joke anymore.
So back to the wheelchair story. So I replied, well, this woman is clearly entitled to dignity, but let's be honest. You stand up out of a wheelchair and take a few steps, awkward comments will ensue, especially from strangers. That's all I put. Her reply was, I agree, but why not talk shit and assume rather than accept that they're going through things you know nothing about? She just went way off into left field.
Okay, can you please? She said, I understand that. What'd she say?
She's like, I agree.
No, you don't.
That the woman is entitled to dignity and that people may make those comments. But she's rebutting that, well, why not just not talk shit?
You don't agree if you think, why not talk shit? Be like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's a part of life. It's just how some people are. It's not a big deal.
It's not talking shit. Talking shit would be like, oh, you fucking faking it? You getting tax money too off entitlement programs, off disability? That's talking shit.
I mean, I got to be honest. What the guy said or person said to the person in the wheelchair wasn't really funny, but
it's tame.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah. And after that, and then she added immediately, I know it's how society works, but being on the receiving end of that is pretty horrible. So already, and I didn't pick up on this, I should have just let it go. This story has struck an emotional chord with her. And it was really late at night when I replied, so I didn't pick up on it. This is when I get in the most trouble, when I have insomnia and I fucking get on Facebook and I'm just going through my feed, commenting on people's shit. I should just not fucking talk to like 70%
I rarely ever comment on anybody's shit. Just because it's not interesting.
Yeah. So I wanted to play devil's advocate and initiate a dialogue.
Good luck with that shit.
And I said, well, we don't know the vocal inflection of the person who said that to her. Was it with a joking air, or was it in a dickish, unapproving tone? She claims it was said one way, but who's to say it wasn't another? It's incumbent upon people who get offended by possible misunderstandings to seek out specificity. How do you feel about that thought?
Yeah. I mean, the tone the person uses, the exact words, how they said it, were they talking with their hand, because the person's joking around, it's going to use a certain tone. They're probably going to use their hand animatedly, kind of like the way I do. So you can tell, okay, they're just trying to be funny, but it's not working. Versus somebody's like, oh, it's a fucking scam, huh?
Well, what if the other person would have said, oh, you don't need a wheelchair all the time? If you don't mind my asking, do you have like a special condition? Like, I get curious about that shit. I want to ask people. I'm old school. I will fucking talk to you about your life if you're a stranger. I don't care, because the human experience is about seeing the world through somebody else's eyes. You garner knowledge through other people's perspective, and you won't get that unless you ask them for it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that was not the end of my second reply. I added, it's like when people assumed I got married because I had knocked up my then girlfriend. I didn't just go looking for sympathy. I clarified which way they meant that, sarcastic or truly rude. When it was the latter, I didn't whine online. I snapped back with fangs. Do you see the parallels I'm trying to draw between the two situations?
Yeah.
Okay. And she replies with, we will agree to disagree. It's okay to make assumptions and statements about stuff you have no clue about and only see a small snippet of time in relation to, but it's not okay to react to that bullshit behavior. We'll not come to an agreement on that, because I have seen it firsthand towards my children. Okay, rabbit hole just got a little deeper, and then she adds, and the example of you knocking up your girlfriend is irrelevant due to that being your choice not to protect against that. These medical conditions were not chosen by those who have them. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, this woman just keep contradicting herself.
Well, here's the thing I didn't call her out on. It's awfully presumptuous to assume that the reason my girlfriend got knocked up is because I wasn't taking proper precautions. I've conceived multiple pregnancies while my wife was on birth control. Lots of people make babies on birth control. I was taking necessary precautions. We could just not fuck ever, I guess.
That would suck.
Yeah, but what kind of life is that? But
not one for me.
I made a point, and then she zagged the other way. She's like using a deflection tactic, like, no, your example's stupid, and I've experienced this firsthand, so fuck you, because I get to feel what I want to feel. yes and no. So I came back with, it's not irrelevant. Both stories involve people making comments that, by your own suggestion, could have been kept inside. And I quoted her with, but why not talk shit and assume rather than accept they're going through things you do know nothing about? And I'm like, just because you didn't see or agree with how I choose to relate the two stories does not render my statement a fallacy. And I don't know the backstory to what you're implying, so I can't speak as to how this wheelchair-bound woman relates to your own kids. So she is all up in arms about this, right? She just shares it. And if she put a comment on top like, this is horrible, it wasn't horrible.
No,
That's
it wasn't.
fucking hyperbole. And everything's in extremes now. But, yeah, I fucking stepped in a Facebook snare trap again, just making a comment. I was trying
This one doesn't sound as bad as the first one, though.
Well, no, because those people were outright attacking me and didn't know me. And this woman knows me quite well and comments on shit I say on here and has said, God, I miss your sense of humor. Oh, I always loved the way you joked. But this one thing that she relates to herself, she can't see past her own feelings without getting all worked up. So somebody says something the opposite of her opinion, she gets all fucking defensive and clearly doesn't realize it. Moral of the story, destroy the internet. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm J-Man.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
And that's the end.